Most people think Toyota became the world's most powerful car company because of technology. They're wrong. It wasn't robots or fancy factories that made Toyota unstoppable. It was a war not fought with weapons, but with ideas. This is the story of how a small, struggling Japanese carmaker took on America's automotive giants, rewrote the rules of manufacturing, and created a system that would change industries forever. And by the end, you'll see why Toyota's greatest innovation wasn't the car, it was the mindset behind it. When World War II ended, Japan was in ruins. Cities flattened, factories destroyed, roads broken. The country had no steel, no fuel, and almost no hope. In the ashes of defeat, a young engineer named Kiichiro Toyoda dreamed of rebuilding Japan through cars. He was the son of Sakichi Toyoda, an inventor who had built the first automatic loom. His father's company had once manufactured textile machines, not vehicles. But Kiichiro saw the future differently. He believed that Japan could rise again through industry, and cars were the symbol of that modern rebirth. In 1937, he founded Toyota Motor Company. At first, they built simple trucks for the Japanese army. But after the war, demand collapsed. The company nearly went bankrupt. By 1949, Toyota was producing fewer than 3,000 vehicles a year compared to millions made by General Motors and Ford. The future looked hopeless. Workers were overworked, morale was collapsing, and management was desperate. In 1950, Toyota's factory was paralyzed by a massive strike. Executives resigned. Half the workforce was laid off. It looked like the end. But that crisis became the moment that would change everything. During the chaos, Toyota's executives decided to learn from their enemies, the Americans. They sent a team to study Ford's manufacturing plants in Detroit. The Japanese engineers were shocked. The Ford factory was enormous miles of conveyor belts, roaring machines, thousands of workers moving in rhythm. To them, it looked like the future. But when the engineers returned to Japan, they realized something surprising. They couldn't copy Ford's system because Japan didn't have the money, space, or demand to mass-produce cars that way. If they tried, they'd fail. So instead of copying, they adapted. One of those engineers, Taiichi Ohno, made a radical observation. He noticed that in Ford's factory, piles of unused parts sat everywhere. Workers produced components long before they were needed, wasting time and storage. Ohno asked a simple question: what if we only made what the customer ordered, exactly when they ordered it? That question would become the foundation of one of the greatest industrial revolutions in history. Ohno began experimenting. He studied grocery stores in the United States, how shelves were restocked only when items were sold. That simple flow of supply and demand inspired him. He brought the idea back to Toyota. They called it just-in-time production. No giant inventories, no wasted effort. Every part, every motion, every resource precisely timed and delivered. It was the opposite of Ford's model, and it worked. In the early 1950s, Toyota started rebuilding its factories around efficiency, teamwork, and respect for workers' ideas. If a problem appeared on the line, anyone, even the newest employee, could stop the production entirely. That was revolutionary. In the West, only managers made decisions. At Toyota, improvement came from the ground up. This philosophy became known as Kaizen, or continuous improvement, tiny changes made every day, adding up to massive transformation. The factory became a living organism, flexible, self-correcting, and human. It was fragile at first, but soon, it became unstoppable. By the late 1950s, Toyota had survived bankruptcy, rebuilt its workforce, and started exporting cars abroad. But in the United States, nobody believed the Japanese could ever compete. They were about to be proven wrong. In 1957, Toyota shipped its first car to the United States, the Toyopet Crown. It was small, underpowered, and awkwardly named. American drivers hated it. Dealers joked that the car couldn't climb a hill without praying first. Critics laughed. Toyota withdrew the model within 2 years. It was an embarrassment. But for Toyota, failure wasn't defeat. It was data. While Detroit laughed, Toyota listened. They studied the American market. The roads, the drivers, the culture, and quietly, they rebuilt. By the 1960s, Japan's economy was booming. Factories expanded, exports grew, and Toyota applied everything it had learned. Its engineers redesigned every component lighter, stronger, simpler. Its managers perfected the Toyota production system, and its workers developed a new sense of pride. In 1966, Toyota introduced a car that would change everything: the Corolla. It was affordable, efficient, and reliable. It didn't break down, didn't leak oil, and didn't rust after 2 winters. In an era of gas-guzzling American cars, it was revolutionary. By the early 1970s, Toyota's exports to the US were soaring. Americans who once mocked Japanese cars were now driving them, and Detroit was finally paying attention. In 1973, the world changed overnight. A sudden oil crisis sent gasoline prices skyrocketing. Long lines formed at gas stations. Big American cars, symbols of luxury and power, became liabilities. And suddenly, Toyota's small, fuel-efficient cars looked like salvation. Dealers couldn't keep up with demand. Cars sold out in days. Toyota's market share exploded. Within a few years, Japan's automakers Toyota, Honda, Nissan had captured a massive slice of the US market. The unthinkable had happened. Japan was beating America at its own game. But Detroit didn't understand how. They saw Toyota's success as a mystery, a trick. How could a company from a war-torn nation produce cars that lasted longer, cost less, and broke down less often? The answer wasn't mystery. It was mindset. Inside Toyota, every worker was part of the system. Each employee, from factory floor to management, was encouraged to spot problems, suggest fixes, and improve the process. This wasn't bureaucracy. It was culture. Taiichi Ohno's philosophy was simple. We don't build cars, we build people who build cars. This approach created a sense of ownership that no Western company could match. Workers didn't just assemble parts, they crafted excellence. Toyota also developed a system of jidoka automation with a human touch. Machines could stop themselves if something went wrong. The focus wasn't speed, it was precision. While American factories prized volume, Toyota prized flow. While Detroit measured profit per car, Toyota measured waste per step. Every screw, every motion, every drop of paint had a purpose. This discipline turned Toyota's assembly line into an art form: calm, rhythmic, almost meditative. And when American executives visited Japan to learn Toyota's secret, they couldn't believe what they saw. No shouting, no chaos, no piles of parts, just quiet efficiency. It wasn't a factory, it was harmony. By the late 1970s, Toyota's cars were everywhere. Ford and General Motors tried to catch up, but their systems were too rigid. They added robots, computers, and automation, but without philosophy, it didn't work. Efficiency is not a machine, it's a mindset. In 1980, US car magazines ran a headline that shocked the industry. Toyota builds the best cars in America in Japan. The insult hit home. The US auto industry had lost its pride. President Ronald Reagan's administration pressured Japan to limit exports, fearing an economic takeover. But Toyota was already planning its next move. If it couldn't send cars to America, it would build them there. In 1984, Toyota partnered with General Motors to open a factory in California called NUMMI. For Toyota, it was an experiment. For GM, it was desperation. The factory had once been one of GM's worst, plagued by strikes, absenteeism, and poor quality. Toyota agreed to manage it using its production system and culture. Within months, productivity doubled, quality skyrocketed, and American workers, once cynical and disillusioned, rediscovered pride in their work. One GM executive admitted, "We thought we knew how to build cars. We didn't." The results were undeniable. Toyota's methods worked anywhere, even in the heart of Detroit's backyard. By the late 1980s, Toyota wasn't just another car company. It was a symbol of perfection. Its cars were more reliable, lasted longer, and cost less to maintain than almost anything else on the road. Detroit had been dethroned. Japan was now the new capital of the automotive world. The Toyota Corolla became the best-selling car of all time. Factories in Japan ran like clockwork, and Toyota's methods once mocked were now studied in business schools and copied by competitors across the globe. But the company wasn't celebrating. Inside Toyota, the battle never ended, because in their philosophy, perfection is a moving target. Every victory creates a new weakness. Every success reveals a new flaw. That mindset, humble, relentless, curious, was the secret weapon that no one could steal. In the 1990s, Toyota's system had a name: the Toyota Way. It wasn't a slogan, it was a code. 2 principles defined it: continuous improvement and respect for people. Those ideas sound simple, but they were revolutionary. Most corporations saw employees as costs. Toyota saw them as creators. Each worker was trained not just to follow instructions, but to think. A mechanic could redesign a tool. A line worker could stop production to fix a problem. A manager's job wasn't to command, it was to listen. This culture created a sense of ownership and loyalty that turned ordinary people into innovators. And that made Toyota unstoppable. In 1989, Toyota launched a new challenge: luxury. The company created a new brand, Lexus. Its mission was to rival Mercedes, Benz, and BMW. Many thought it was impossible. How could a company known for affordable cars compete with European elegance? Toyota's engineers didn't answer with words. They answered with precision. For 6 years, more than 1,000 engineers worked on the first Lexus model. Every door click, every leather stitch, every engine vibration tested, measured, refined. The result was the Lexus LS 400. When it debuted, it shocked the world. It was smoother, quieter, and more reliable than its German rivals for half the price. Car magazines called it a revolution. Executives in Stuttgart called it a threat. The same philosophy that rebuilt Japan had now conquered luxury. By the 1990s and early 2000s, the Toyota production system was no longer a secret. Books were written about it. Consultants sold seminars. Factories from Detroit to Delhi tried to copy the methods, but most of them failed, because they copied the tools, not the thinking. They saw Toyota's success as a formula, not a philosophy. Taiichi Ono once warned them, "It is easy to copy the visible parts. The real essence of Toyota is invisible." That essence was discipline, patience, humility. Toyota didn't chase quarterly profits. It chased lifetime trust. It didn't seek perfection overnight. It earned it one screw, one process, one car at a time.